Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us, and I'm glad to be back with you today. Well, first up, Canada will now restrict the number of temporary foreign workers. The federal Liberal government has been criticized for a rise in foreign workers in recent years, with some experts saying it's fueling unemployment. Well, what do you think of this step, and what impact will it have on jobs and on businesses? Call us now on that. In half an hour, the rising costs of gluten-free food. Is it getting more expensive for you? And what are your own budget hacks? That's after 12:30. I'm Michelle Elliott. Welcome to BC Today. Well, some big changes are coming to Canada's temporary foreign worker program. As of September, employers in areas with a 6% or higher unemployment rate will no longer be able to hire low-wage temporary foreign workers. And those employers who can will be limited to 10% of their total workforce. And those workers will also be limited to just one-year contracts, down from the current 2. So we're asking you, what do you think of this step to reduce the number of temporary foreign workers in Canada? How will it affect jobs here, and how will it affect businesses? You can call us now, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. And you can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. You can also email bctoday@cbc.ca. We'll be joined by the Restaurant and Food Services Association in just a few moments, too, for their reaction. Right now, my guest is Vancouver immigration lawyer Richard Curlin. Good afternoon. Thanks for coming in.
A pleasure.
Well, what's your reaction to this news?
Too little, too late. The government decided only a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago, to bring in a massively spectacular high number of temporary residents. So we went from a couple million extra over 2-3 years. That decision was not public, held in secret. When the numbers finally came out, the government was awash with criticism, hence what we see today, a reduction from 2.3 million down 65,000. It's a drop in the bucket.
Oh, well, the government would say that post-pandemic, certain sectors like the restaurants faced a really severe labor shortage, and that was why they loosened those restrictions.
Well, that's nice. And included in the food sector is the health and construction sectors. We need these people, and we can't put the brakes on that supply of foreign labor.
And they are exempt, right?
They are exempt from these changes. However, imagine what 2 million extra people in a short period does to housing supply and how that affects business. They made the decision, forgot to tell the construction and housing industry they were doing that. No surprise to see Vancouver, Toronto, Calgary, Montreal with increasing rents. So it's all one package. Now they're on the right track. They're correcting things after the fact to minimize the political fallout of a secret decision.
Why do you think it's too little as well as too late?
Why are we paying to bring foreign workers to Canada when we can invest in training and increase wages for unemployed people qualified and willing to take those jobs? Someone needs to explain that.
The way this program is set up, I mean, let's talk about that, right? This program has been around for a long time. It is an integral part of the way businesses have been running for many years prior to the pandemic, prior to the post-pandemic labor crunch. And so, what exactly is the issue with this program?
Well, the program works. It's well designed. It's those details that the present regime put in place that's different. Now, they did it for a good economic reason. They had a bad choice after COVID, during COVID. You either bite the bullet economically and get the knife to the throat for economic recovery, or open our gates to a huge number of foreigners who bring foreign capital. So the introduction of foreign capital to the Canadian economy is one side of the ledger, but Canadians pay the price to go without jobs for the other side of that ledger.
Is there a direct link? I guess what I'm trying to get at, we've seen the criticism here that we've seen the rise in the unemployment rate to 6% in some areas. And that is being blamed in part on the rise in temporary foreign workers. But is there an actual correlation there?
Well, that's for the economists to determine. The data is too fresh, but common sense gives us a way out of the well. Why not just you have to be paying that foreign worker in the top 10% of the wage for that job. That way, there's an incentive to hire locals. They're cheaper, and you're only bringing foreigners when you have to.
Okay, and so is it that foreign workers are? Perhaps you can explain that for us, for those who don't know. What are the rules around wages when it comes to temporary foreign workers?
It's tough. It depends on the province, the sector, how much unemployment there is, the occupation median wage. There's a lot of vegetables in this soup. And to make it simple, you've got to make clearly understood rules for everyone. And that's why I like this scoring, pay more, pay the highest, or else you're not bringing that foreigner. We collect taxes off those high salaries. So there's something in it for us.
Let's take a call now. My guest is Vancouver immigration lawyer Richard Kurland, and we're asking you for your thoughts. Some new restrictions coming to the way the temporary foreign worker program is being run. And so as of September 26th, employers in areas with an unemployment rate of 6% will no longer be able to hire low-wage temporary foreign workers, and employers will be limited to just 10% of their total workforce when it comes to hiring temporary foreign workers. And those contracts will now be limited to 1 year, down from 2 years right now. And this is all amid pressure and the government saying we're taking this direction of curtailing, reducing the number of temporary foreign workers to Canada. Asking you for your thoughts. 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone as well, or you can email bctoday@cbc.ca. And Hamish is calling us now from Maple Ridge. Hi, Hamish.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
I am well. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, interesting topic you got. I'm phoning as the owner of a small business in BC. We do renovations and restorations. And I haven't actually been out and done the paperwork to get application for a foreign worker to come and work in my company. So I should have, because we have many, many years struggling to find people with, I'm talking more about people with skills and even people as helpers, people that we could train to start off on the bottom rungs of the ladder. I just want to say that any sort of reduction in access to people that want to work, be they foreign or Canadian, is not good for the economy, because we have many, many projects we could be getting onto if we had more staff.
And this is in construction then, Hamish?
It is more renovations and restorations.
And so can you tell me a bit more about how hard it has been for you? Why has it been difficult to find workers here in BC?
Well, we're only 7 people in the company. I think maybe that plays into it. People want to work with bigger companies working on bigger projects. Our projects tend to be anything from a couple of days to a couple of months. But it confounds me, really. It seems to me that a lot of people just don't want to do laboring type of work, be it well-paid. I mean, we pay our guys very well, above market rates, and we still struggle to find and keep people.
And so how many workers are you hoping to bring in then?
Well, we'd love to start with just a couple of people, and then build up more teams as we go. But could I ask Richard a question?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So, Richard, what's entailed for a small business owner like myself? What are the steps to apply and for some foreign workers, temporary foreign workers, to come and join our company?
Yeah, well, small businesses are the backbone of the Canadian economy and deserve special treatment. The first step is trying to offer more to attract local workers, and if you can't
beyond
do
market conditions, prices, rates rather.
Well, you establish the market rates with your quote for labor. And if that's not being successful and you find yourself at the highest end of the wage offer, turn to ESDC for a labor market impact assessment, and they'll do the heavy lifting to give you a piece of paper that will allow you to bring in foreign workers. All the rules and guidelines and steps to take are clearly visible on the website of ESDC.
So, Hamish, do you worry then about, as we just heard, small businesses like yours are the backbone here in BC? The majority of businesses are small businesses. What impact do you think it might have?
Well, it slows down our progress. It slows down the time it takes for us to get to a client that's approved a job. The company would benefit, the community would benefit if we were able to have better access to more people that wanted to do this type of work.
Okay. Hamish, thank you very much. You wanted to respond, Richard?
Yeah, you got to get creative. For example, go to your trade schools in foreign countries like Germany. Recruit for a year working holiday in Canada. And under the International Migration Program, these people trained to do what you want done can come here quickly, easily, for at least 12 months.
Okay, how is that different, though, from what seems to be the problem here with temporary
Because it's a
foreign
different
workers?
program.
Right, but it's the same impact, isn't it?
It does. A foreigner lands here with a work permit in hand. So there are lots of ways to skin a cat. You got to get creative and look at other opportunities under Canada's system.
Okay, we're taking your calls. What do you think will be the impact of reducing the number of temporary foreign workers to Canada? 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. Joining me now is Ian Tostenson, president of the BC Restaurant and Food Services Association. Hi, Ian. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me on, Michelle. Hi, Richard.
Hello.
Well, we just heard there from a small business owner. What about restaurants? How will this affect restaurants?
Well, there's a number of things here that haven't been discussed. So we've recruited probably 2,000 to 3,000 workers over the last 4 or 5 years, and these are skilled workers coming in on we hope on a permanent basis. And so eventually they will apply for permanent residency. And the program has been exceptional for us. It's not a low wage program. These are and it's all about cooks and chefs. Making well into the $20 range. So I think one thing is that we talk about low wages. I think a lot of people are thinking about low wage construction, no skill type jobs. That's not what we've been doing. So this announcement is sort of, I think, rocked everybody's confidence a bit because the details aren't there yet. The other thing too, Michelle, is that, the BC government put out a labor forecast. They're forecasting that BC needs 1 million workers in the next 10 years. 30% has to come from immigration. And we know through a study we did in 2018, the demographics, so the supply for us of cooks and chefs is virtually non-existent. There's very few people, to Richard's point, is investing as employers on skills training. The cook schools are, and in fact, they're just so underpopulated right now. There's no interest really for people going into that profession. So we've relied on skilled foreign workers, and that's really helped the industry tremendously. But at the end of the day, as the gentleman Hamish was speaking of, there's not the workers out there. I mean, we can say all we want about cutting back this and stuff, but we have to make sure that we don't go too far because we do not see a great supply of workers for our kitchens throughout British Columbia.
So why is there this pressure then? There has been the pressure, right? The criticism that we're seeing, students over the summer not being able to get jobs, new Canadians, immigrants themselves not being able to get jobs because of temporary foreign workers. So where is that coming from?
Well, in our case, it's not coming from us because we hire as much as we can. It's just not an issue of the front of the house. In restaurants, it's an issue of technical back of the house. It could be that these people don't have the skills. I mean, you can't put an unskilled person into a kitchen. It doesn't work that way. But you can put an unskilled person into the front of a restaurant. And there's no, we've had all sorts of supply, Michelle, on that. But we're really talking here about skilled labor in kitchens. And that's where I think a lot of people that say they can't get a job, they probably don't have the skills.
And so you started off by saying the details are scant. What are the details that you'll be looking for?
Well, they talk about, a temporary foreign worker program, which is really in and out. As far as we can see today, we're talking about workers that come to Canada and they leave.
Right.
And so we don't know how far that goes. Does that affect workers that we bring in, for example, the skilled workers that are here? They come with an intention to eventually become a Canadian citizen and make a life for themselves in Canada. And that stream wasn't really addressed today. And I think that's where we're waiting to see how the government addresses that. I sort of think it might be somewhat exempt from this because you're dealing with higher wages, dealing with permanent residency status. It's a whole different set of dynamics than the temporary foreign worker
Okay,
program.
the Prime Minister did say they would the next step was to look at higher wage workers and as well permanent residency in the fall. But that's an interesting point that Ian brings up, right? The people who come seeing the temporary foreign worker program as a step toward permanent residency. How common is that?
And Ian is absolutely right on his data. What Ian may want to contemplate is put on that advocacy hat, because what could fix things is exemptions from Justin's quota, exemptions for chefs and cooks. Don't cap work permits for chefs and cooks.
Okay, so looking at the
that's a great
specifics.
suggestion, Richard, and I appreciate that a lot because you're absolutely right. And you know, I will say, you know, we're interested in hiring as much of the domestic workforce as we can. Restaurants are a good place to train, but that's a great suggestion, Richard. I'm going to take that one up. Thank you.
Okay, Ian taking notes there. Ian, thanks so much for taking our call. Good to have you.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Richard.
Welcome.
Ian Tostenson, president of the BC Restaurant and Food Services Association. Let's take another call with some reaction to this news announcement made today by the Prime Minister that they're going to work to reduce the number of, at this point, low-wage temporary foreign workers. Who do we mean by that, by the way, low wage?
Oh, my goodness. I don't know.
That's one of the details.
It's a detail, and you can just take a dollar figure.
Okay.
And anyone who earns that or less is low wage.
Yeah.
But what is low wage in Vancouver as opposed to Halifax? This is a real operational problem.
Yeah, that's sort of an umbrella term that they're using right now is low-wage temporary foreign workers. Let's take a call now from Charlotte in Summerland. Hi, Charlotte. Welcome. Hi, Charlotte. Are you there? I can hear someone. Charlotte, are you joining us right now? Okay, I think we've lost our connection with Charlotte. My apologies. Would love to have you back, Charlotte. So you can call us if you are able to 1-800-825-5950 604-669-3733. It's 12:23 now, and you're with BC Today. And Prime Minister Justin Trudeau did make the announcement this morning in Halifax, and here's some of what he had to say.
First steps we're taking today of reducing the number of low-paid temporary foreign workers that can come work in this country is part of the response. Over the next 90 days, we'll be looking at the higher wage streams of temporary workers, and we'll be looking at unemployment rates and opportunities to make further adjustments over the course of this fall as we come forward with comprehensive level plans that'll respond to the reality that Canada is facing now and in years and decades to come.
That's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau speaking this morning in Halifax, making that announcement. And so we're taking your calls, asking you, what are your thoughts on these steps to reduce the number of temporary foreign workers coming into Canada? The thought is that reducing the numbers would address the rising unemployment rates. And that's what the Prime Minister said this morning, that the labor market conditions have changed, and hence this announcement today. What do you think of that? You can call us 1-800-825-5950 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 or email bctoday@cbc.ca. And do stay with us. After the 12:30 news, we're going to talk about food prices and how they are affecting gluten-free diets. Let us know if that's something that's affecting you. How are you managing a gluten-free diet with rising food costs? They tend to be more expensive, of course, at your groceries. And what are your own hacks for eating gluten-free while sticking to your budget? That's coming up here on BC Today after 12:30. And Richard Kurland is back with me, Vancouver immigration lawyer. You were talking about construction earlier. We have Dan calling us from Kelowna, who happens to work in construction. What do you think of these steps around temporary foreign workers, Dan?
I think it's about time. I've worked in construction since 2002, and I've worked right across Western Canada and worked for 4 different companies that brought in temporary foreign workers. And in every single situation, it was terrible what was going on. They lied to the guys to get them into the country, told them to write down that they were low-wage workers. They were extremely talented people. Once they get here, they've got no option but to work for the company or get sent back. And a lot of them are trying to immigrate to Canada, so they're completely taken advantage of at every turn. It completely undermines the Canadian construction industry and is a big reason why local Canadians are not wanting to get into the industry. It literally is like the one main factor that is just driving the wages through the ground.
That's really interesting. Now, from today's announcement, there will be some exemptions for construction because of that need, that demand for workers. So what do you make of that?
I think the Canadian, so in BC, the labor laws, I have more rights working at McDonald's than I do working as a journeyman carpenter somewhere. They are constantly making exemptions for construction, and this is part of the problem. The part of the problem is that they are undermining workers' rights and making the industry something that Canadians don't want to be in.
Dan, really?
If I go to a job site, I can be laid off, no notice, no severance, no nothing. They can't do that if I work at McDonald's.
Dan, thank you very much. So saying that the influx of foreign workers has had the effect of eroding rights. And we also hear about abuse, as he was talking about, of temporary foreign workers.
It's also the politicization. The golden cow construction is in 416, 905, marginal swing constituencies of key interest to the government. That's why construction is getting special treatment.
Is it about special treatment or about trying to deal with the demand?
Oh, no. The demand is there, and the regular rules of supply and demand equally apply to construction as to other sectors. Why is construction so special? There are Toronto-centric interests that want their day in the sun and have the political clout to demand it of federal MPs.
Do you see this as politics then? Because obviously we're going to into an election next year, and this housing, healthcare, pressure on those infrastructure in Canada, unemployment becoming an issue. Certainly, we hear that up for debate. And when it comes to the pressure that's being put on them by immigration, is this becoming a political issue? Is that what we're seeing here?
It sure is, and the timing is no secret. We're at the end game for Election Day, and the competition is intense. Where is the federal NDP in this new policy? I have heard zero. And typically, NDP federally has the interests of the labor movement at heart. Are they supporting this? I don't know.
We'll certainly follow up on that. We did have a request for NDP MP Jenny Kwan for today, who wasn't available. One thing I want to ask you lastly is, do you have concerns amid this ongoing discussion of scapegoating? Because the more, these concerns are raised about immigration levels, how do you have that discussion without creating an atmosphere of scapegoating?
Yeah, the blame game. Blame game on foreigners. I think we heard that south of the border at one point. So here in Canada, there's no traction for that. And that's because of our diverse worker force in those particular sectors of the economy. So blaming foreigners, I think, is appropriate if you're impacting the supply of labor, which reduces the wages of people living and working here. But it's like I said at the outset, Ottawa made this problem. Ottawa should not get credit for fixing it.
Some of the conversation I see online is some of the language can be fairly derogatory.
It's industrial language, I think it's called.
Well, and it's concerning when you think about the workers themselves who are caught in the middle.
Well, the workers often pay tens of thousands of dollars to unscrupulous foreign agents to access this job offer in construction or elsewhere. And that's a known problem by government, and government is not doing enough to combat the exploitation of these foreign workers.
Richard, as there's going to be more details on this, including what they mean by low wage. We'll try and find out what that is. And of course, certainly a lot more to come on this, because as we heard from the Prime Minister this morning, more categories are being looked at as we head into the fall, as they look at apparently the larger issue of immigration. Thanks so much for giving your early reaction to
pleasure.
this today.
Thank you.
Richard Kurland is a Vancouver immigration lawyer. It's 12:31 now, time for a CBC News update, and here's Robert Zimmerman.
Good afternoon. The maximum allowable rent increase in BC next year will be 3%, down from 3.5% this year. The Housing Ministry says the new amount is tied to inflation and comes after increases were kept well below inflation this year and last. The number of active wildfires in BC is falling as a result of the rain that fell across the southern part of the province. However, officials warn that high winds have created tree hazards. Meanwhile, the BC Wildfire Service has lifted the campfire ban for the Southeast Fire Centre today, which includes the Boundary, Kootenays and Columbias. A ban remains in effect for the Kamloops Fire Centre, including the Okanagan. And BC Hydro says construction on the Site C Dam is now more than 85% complete. The provincial utility says it has begun filling the 83-kilometre reservoir, which will take up to 4 months. The first power generating unit on site is scheduled to begin in December. And now the forecast on the north coast: cloudy this afternoon with a slight chance of showers and a high of 14. Highs reaching 21 with a mix of sun and cloud in the Peace. In the central interior, including Prince George, a high of 18 with a chance of showers and severe thunderstorms. Highs up to 24 degrees with lots of sunshine in the Kootenays. In the southern interior, including Kelowna, a mix of sun and cloud this afternoon with a high of 23. And for Metro Vancouver, Greater Victoria and the Fraser Valley, rain in some areas with highs from 16 to 21. That's your CBC News update from Vancouver.
Thank you so much, Rob. Welcome back to you as well.
Thank you, yes, and to you.
Thank you very much.
You had a good break?
I did. You know, my family and I went to San Diego.
Oh, nice.
It was excellent, actually. We wanted a short trip, short flight, not going, on a huge trip or anything like that. I like to just get on a plane. We hit the zoo.
Legoland?
Not Legoland. We just hit some of the beaches. They have a lovely beach there that has an amusement park right on the pier.
Nice.
Right on the boardwalk. They have a park that has like 16 museums in it. Balboa Park. Just beautiful. And,
awesome. It's beautiful down. Yeah. San Diego. Lovely.
Lovely place. I got into a debate with my husband as to whether the Show 3's company was set in San Diego, because I just kept singing, "Come and knock on our door."
That's a bit of a flashback there.
It's a deep cut.
Three's Company.
Yeah, I know.
San Diego. Not sure about that.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure either.
Somewhere down there.
I'm sure we can Google it. But yeah, that was an ongoing debate for us throughout our trip.
Interesting. And you didn't Google it at that time?
No, I'm offline on vacation.
Oh,
Rob.
nice. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
So I'll check it now that I'm going to be chronically online once again, back at work.
It's a little sad, isn't it?
It is a little sad. Nice to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Yes, good to be back.
Rob Zimmerman in the CBC Vancouver newsroom. And this is BC Today here on CBC. And do stay tuned. We are going to take your calls on how you're sticking to your gluten-free diet when those food costs are rising. Well, some of the tastiest food that you can indulge in, you think about pastas and pizzas and profiteroles. Not everybody can partake in them because of using flour to cook and bake. And so the grocery costs for gluten-free diets have been soaring as well. So it kind of puts people in a bit of a pickle. We're going to spend our show now talking about gluten-free living and how you can stick to your budget while watching out for your gut sensitivities and sticking to your diet. So we're asking you, are you finding it hard to find gluten-free items on a budget? And let us know if you have any hacks as well for eating gluten-free while sticking to your budget. And if you have a question too, you can call us 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, and you can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. If you'd like to email us, it's bctoday@cbc.ca. And joining me now is Janice Skoreyko. She's a gluten-free educator, a chef, and a health and nutrition expert. She was recently named by Success Magazine as an award-winning visionary and one of the top 50 women of influence for 2023. Hello.
Hi.
Quite the resume there. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And I love that you've brought some items here for us to look at as well. Tell me, okay, so let's start with definitions. What actually counts as gluten-free?
Right. So we're looking at things that don't have any barley, rye, oats, wheat, spelt, kamut. So these are all associated with gluten. There are actually 400 different kinds of gluten, so it gets a bit complicated. But when we're looking at gluten-free, traditionally, that's what we're looking for. We want to avoid those compounds.
And why can gluten be a problem?
So for myself, I was growing up as a young person. I was diagnosed with celiac disease after decades of trying to find out what was going on. And this is an autoimmune condition where someone has a genetic predisposition to having a reaction with gluten or a gluten sensitivity. So whether you are celiac or gluten sensitive, they are not interchangeable, which I do find some people use those as interchangeable.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
The difference is the reaction happening in your gut or not? So if there's damage being done in the gut, then you're considered celiac.
And you're actually diagnosed that.
I was.
That's a and that is a diagnosis. What about gluten sensitivity then?
Yeah, so gluten sensitivity, you'll have the same genetic marker, and I can talk more about that. You'll have the same genetic marker. However, the way that it manifests in the body, it can be through gut sensitivity. It could be through secondary symptoms, such as my bones and teeth were crumbling. It was diagnosed with osteoporosis as a young person, and we couldn't figure out what that was. Could be brain fog, tingling, fingers and toes. So the symptoms are not specific to a gluten sensitivity.
And that has caused a bit of skepticism around that, right? Like over recent years, as we've seen more and more of these, and I'll ask you why we seem to be seeing more and more of these sensitivities. What do you say to people who are skeptical when someone says, I don't eat gluten, I'm sensitive? Oh, are you really though?
Right. So I believe we need to acknowledge that the person is telling the truth. They're going through something. There's a reason why they're avoiding gluten. Who doesn't want to eat bread? Who doesn't want to eat cake? I believe that really people are on a journey and they're trying to solve their challenge. So it takes 6 months for gluten to leave the system for us to really know if, in fact, that is, we might feel a little bit better after 3 weeks or a month, but it takes 6 months to really notice if that is the key. So really allow the person to be on the journey, to have that experience.
So what has it been like for people who are gluten sensitive or celiac as we've seen grocery prices increase?
Right, so that's an excellent question. And when I found myself deeply impacted by this, which is why I left the clinic. I still see clients, for nutrition and naturopathy. However, I know that everyone needs to eat. And I would be of best service showing people how to eat and take one recipe and turn it into 5 other recipes at home instead of just buying specifics. So we're taking a look at things like different types of flours. So we have buckwheat flour.
Okay.
You can make your own buckwheat flour very easily. Like buckwheat is something that is actually going to be beneficial to one's immune system. and it has the word wheat in it, so often it's confused.
Right.
And I really wanted to mention that because back when I was diagnosed, they said you can't have buckwheat. It's actually related to the rhubarb family. It's not related to wheat at all. So enjoy your buckwheat.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's actually okay. So you can separate that.
Yes. And this is what I use for a majority of the recipes. I want everyone to know that I still eat pizza.
Using buckwheat.
Using
flour.
buckwheat as the foundational flour, right?
wow.
So, and this is great for cookies, of course, buckwheat pancakes. So,
Yes.
and it's not, it is cost effective. It's not an expensive flour, yeah? And you could make your own. So it's readily available. You can buy buckwheat groats in the bulk section. You can just quickly grind that up in your food processor and you have buckwheat flour. And so all of the recipes that I make, they are typically 5 ingredients, 5 minutes.
Right.
Or they are low impact as far as time. So
Yeah.
put things in the dehydrator and you just leave it there for 8 hours and keep on going on with your day. So pizza, crackers, flatbreads, you can have it all.
And do you find there's that people who are, perhaps new to being gluten-free, is that a misconception? Do they feel sort of daunted by this idea that it's going to take so much time and energy and it's going to cost me so much money?
It is because you're looking for a replacement, right?
Yeah.
So when I started, there was no replacement. So perhaps that is the benefit. If there was, I would be on probably doing the same thing, grabbing replacements off the shelf.
Right.
But when you come to it and there wasn't a replacement, you learn to create your own. And yeah.
Well, you know what? I'd love to hear from people what their own replacements are, what your own hacks are for making recipes gluten-free. Have the food prices affected you as you've tried to stick to a gluten-free diet? You can let us know. 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone too. What is it like shopping at the grocery store when you are gluten-free? You can share your experience with us. You can email us too, bctoday@cbc.ca. And my guest is Janice Skoreyko, who's a gluten-free educator, a chef, and a health and nutrition expert as well. Elaine is calling us now from Kamloops. Hi, Elaine.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. And you may have, while I was waiting, answered a couple of my questions, but
Well, go ahead. Tell us. So first of all, are you on a gluten-free
I went on
diet?
a strict gluten-free diet,
Okay.
and, which enabled everything and do the foods back, which took months. And the only thing that I reacted to was the first thing that happened, eggs, which
Eggs. You know what, Elaine, our connection with you is just a little bit iffy, and we're missing some of the words that you're saying. I'm going to ask if we can just try and fix that connection in a moment, perhaps with our control room team, because I know that that Janice is having a little bit of trouble hearing what you're saying as well. We want to make sure we have it correct. So I'm just going to pause on Elaine's call from Kamloops, and we'll try to fix that connection. Okay, my apologies for that. I think her question is how do you show sensitivity? What are the signs, I guess?
Right. So the challenge with the gluten sensitivity is they can come in those 3 different classes. It could be GI, it could be brain fog, which, we've all experienced brain fog. Where did that come from? Or you're feeling lethargic. And again, I was thinking like the tingling fingers and toes, it's pain in your joints. We think, is the weather? Is it gluten sensitivity? What is it? So usually it will be symptoms that you've had before. So and this is great to be tracking your symptoms, to see what is coming back as you reintroduce. And if they are the same as you had before, then that is a really good indicator.
Okay, and tracking what you've eaten that day as well then?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, a little bit of work there, Elaine, but that might be part of the solution there for you. Sheena is on the line now in Victoria with a comment about going gluten-free. Hi, Sheena.
Yeah, hi, Michelle. So my comment is rather than focusing on how are you making replacements, what you make your pasta out of instead of wheat or spelt or what you make your bread out of.
Yes.
We eat way too many grains in our Canadian diet, way too many. And grains are the least healthy part of the diet. So in fact, I think the right way to frame the gluten, and I don't eat gluten. I cheat every now and then and eat some bread because it's so delicious, but just not very often.
And so you've just chosen not to eat grains then? You've just chosen.
Yeah, I have almost no grains in my diet, which started out to be a weight thing. And then I realized how much better I felt because my my vegetable increase went way, way, way up.
Okay.
I was eating a little bit more protein, I think. But so instead of saying, how can we replace these unhealthy things that we have in our diets, it's, wow, what a great opportunity to take those unhealthy things out of my diet and focus on what humans really should be eating, which is way more vegetables and high-quality protein.
High quality protein. And Sheena, thank you very much. Just go ahead.
Yes, fantastic. Sheena, this is what it is. It's a whole food, having more whole foods in our diet. I love that. If we added more whole foods into all of our diets, we're going to be a lot more healthy and vibrant all around. And I absolutely agree with you.
And what about the comment about grains being the most unhealthy part of our diet? How is that true?
So when we look at, the antioxidants and we look at the nutrient profile of grains and the consumption, so say our 80% of our diet is grains, then we only have 20% left for all of the other, the colors of the rainbow. We all, we should eat all of the colors of the rainbow. So if instead our diet is 10% or 20% grains, then we open up a whole new opportunity for our bodies to be stronger, to be healthier, and to really thrive.
Yeah, for those the high quality proteins that she talked about, and fruits and vegetables. So it's really about bringing that balance to your diet.
It is, yeah. The grains are a comfort food, and that's fine. But I will suggest to you that fruits and vegetables can also be a great comfort foods. And like the chocolate cake we prepared here, it has no grains in it at all.
Okay, so let's because you've referred to it, it is a beautiful, really has such a beautiful glaze to it. This chocolate cake that you've brought. So tell us about it.
So this is a no-bake chocolate cake. The one thing that I missed growing up or on my journey was having cake, and I felt really deprived. And the idea here is that you are on an indulgent transformation, that you don't feel deprived, right? And that you feel great every day.
I can see you just smiling and looking wistfully as you say that.
I'm excited. I used to eat a certain frozen cake at Safeway. I used to buy it in the frozen food section 5 minutes before 12 because I was so deprived. I had kind of disordered eating, and I'd eat this frozen cake, obviously feel terrible afterwards. And I said, there's got to be a way.
Right.
So this chocolate cake, I make it and I eat it for breakfast, and you can too. So it's who doesn't want to be on that plan? So I would suggest to you, so it's just simply a different take on trail mix.
Okay.
And there's cacao powder, which is a chocolate powder that is raw, and there's walnuts. There's a little bit of salt. There's a bit of vanilla, and the binder is dates. So dates, yes, they are concentrated sugar. I know that's coming, but they are really high in fiber, and they're a fantastic binder for this. And then you will please anyone who's coming over, to breakfast, to a brunch.
And what flour have you used then?
So the flour actually is the walnuts. If you blend the walnuts into a flour, so it's a nut flour. You could use pecans if you don't have nuts. If you are using almonds, you could use almonds. Wow. Oftentimes I will make almond milk. I did want to mention this because the almond milk is something would be a nice accompaniment to this.
Yes.
But you can make almond milk. Simply blend your almonds in some water and strain it. The fiber that's left over, pop that in the oven, pop it into a dehydrator, and that's your almond flour that you can just use to make your cake. So really get into repurposing things, and there are no gums. So guar gum, xanthan gum, those are not great for the digestive system for people who already have digestive challenges. So instead, we can look to use psyllium husk powder is a great alternative. I did want to mention this.
Okay.
If you would like a gummier texture.
Yeah.
And
so what's the texture of this then, of the walnut flour?
Oh, this is the way that it is together here. The walnut flour with the dates gives a texture of a double chocolate fudge brownie cake. And
who doesn't love that? It is gorgeous. And you can, for example, in my family, we have a walnut allergy, so I can use something like almonds and an alternative there too. Oh, yes. Look at it. It's just shining. Let's take, Elaine is back now from Kamloops. Hi, Elaine.
Hi there. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Not at
I'm
all.
visiting, and we don't have great Wi-Fi coverage here. I was on quite a strict, I thought, elimination diet for a few months when I slowly reintroduced food. And the only thing I reacted to, which was surprising, were the eggs. I had hiccups and heartburn several times that I tried to eat them, but one of my favorite foods. So I do want to try and incorporate gluten-free, dairy-free, no pork. It was quite like I said, a strict diet. So listening to a little bit, would you say that you had mentioned grains and possibly dairy for somebody like me that didn't really visibly react to something would be the first start of eliminating?
So grains and dairy, yes, citrus as well. If you're reacting to eggs and you're looking for a replacement, because I also react to eggs and I loved eggs, you can use the psyllium husk powder that I'm mentioning. It will give you the texture, and also flax. So flax and water is an excellent egg replacement. I know it's not the same, but it's a good alternative.
Okay, and of course, one of my biggest ones is caffeine. I don't want to mistake a caffeinated coffee with a decaffeinated coffee, for sure. I can't run that fast.
Yes.
So what are your options then?
Well, I drink decaf very, very little, a couple of cups a day, and as long as that's what I limit it to, I seem to be fine. But if I even mix half and half decaffeinated and caffeine, I might be okay for maybe a couple of tries, but the third one, it always catches me by surprise, and yeah, you just don't know.
Yeah, Elaine, thank you very much. And it's a really important question because it is so much of, you're sort of trying things and seeing what works and what doesn't. And you're saying that the first thing to try and eliminate would be dairy and grains then, if you're trying to figure things out.
Definitely the gluten and definitely the grains and the dairy, and see how you feel. There are many tests you can have done, and definitely, but I would say start with yourself. You're your own best doctor. You know how you feel. You're on the journey. Start there if you start feeling better. If you don't, of course, you should see your practitioner and work with them directly. Okay, yeah, good advice. Colleen is up next now in Vancouver. Hi, Colleen.
Oh, hi. What a wonderful topic. Thank you so much for having such a wonderful person with a great wealth of information. It's not a topic I see often. I couldn't help but phone and comment. As a 25-year diagnosed celiac, my story was much the same. That's already been discussed. The low bone density was the big red flag. And I think the process of getting diagnosed is a whole other segment. But imagine my surprise when I went to Italy last year and found out that the cost of celiac disease is actually quite supported there and acknowledged. Italy actually tests every 6-year-old for celiac disease, and there's actually a high rate of celiac in Italy, of all places known for their great pastas and pizzas.
Right, yeah, the irony there. Isn't that interesting?
Yes, but it gets better. They actually, the Italian government actually provides a monthly income supplement to support people who have to do a gluten-free diet, because it's acknowledged it is more expensive and it's hard. And I think in Italian culture, I discovered that they acknowledge this. And of course, and you guys are talking about this earlier about kind of like the feeling of deprivation you get when you can't participate. So socially and emotionally in food and Italian culture, they of course want people at a dining room table enjoying. So the abundance of gluten-free pastas, breads, crackers is everywhere. Restaurants, grocery stores, even in pharmacies.
Wow.
And I just had a great time.
It sounds like it, Colleen.
Because it was kind of embraced. If you said you were celiac, the restaurants don't even charge extra. Right away, they give you something safe to eat. And I think Canada needs to get a bit of a page from that. It's so hard to get a tax deduction here for the amount that we have to pay, the cost. For our food, we only get to deduct the difference between what a regular, say, a regular loaf of bread would be and the cost of, say, a a loaf of gluten-free bread, but you have to tally that so high in order to qualify the deduction. I know the Canadian Celiac Association haven't been following it that closely, but they're trying to get it easier. Like, couldn't we just get some kind
More
of
of those
easier,
breaks. Colleen,
deduction?
I'm going to wrap there. I'm sorry. I'm just going to try and get to another caller on the line. But thank you so much. That is fascinating to hear what the approach has been, is in Italy. I'm going to squeeze in Mervyn in Sydney. I just have about a minute, Mervyn, but I really wanted to get you on because you have Crohn's disease.
That's correct. Yes.
Tell us about, what do you want to know about it?
Well, it's I've gone from before Crohn's, I was on a high fiber diet. Now, of course, I've gone on a low fiber diet. And when you're talking costs and everything, I can't have beef anymore, which is one of the more expensive meats. But I now enjoy chicken, and more chicken. No pizzas, So I'm 82 years old, so it's not like I'm dining out and find food anymore. But it's I look for gluten-free things and that sort of stuff. Can't have any now the fruit season is in. I can't have anything with skin on it, so I take the skin off. Strawberries is no because there are seeds in there.
Right.
So it's a bit debilitating.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it is a challenge. Absolutely, Mervyn. I'm so glad we got to get you on because I think that, people who have Crohn's as well would appreciate hearing from you. Thank you very much for the call. I just want to wrap with Janice here. I have 30 seconds, but that relationship with food, it sounds like you've come to a place where because of your strategies, you have a great relationship with food.
Gosh. The idea that I have a culinary school for 12 years is radical because I did not have a good relationship with food. And I want everyone to know that you have an opportunity to be empowered, that you can make delicious food that just happens to be healthy, and it is exceptional.